We're back. 1 o'clock hour, the Connor Happer Show on 1620 The Zone and on 1620thezone.com. Connor Happer, Josh Hodson with you. We're joined now on the 42 Degrees of Source hotline by Sam McKewon from the Omaha World Herald. Hello, Sam.
Hey, how's it going?
Sam, great. We were just a couple segments ago, we brought up that weird stat that you had in your rewind today about how Nebraska's got like 12 first downs via – what is it? 12 first downs via penalty this year or something like that?
Yeah. So they've accumulated 12 first downs, 4 per game, by a penalty committed by the defense.
What would you attribute that to? I have some guess. I have some it could. There's an air of randomness, obviously, to it. But what do you attribute that to?
Willingness to throw the ball downfield, and the penalties that creates when. I mean, there's something to be said for committing a pass interference penalty and picking up a 15-yard flag versus giving up a 45-yard play. In the NFL, you don't get that luxury.
Right.
Like, if you make that mistake in the NFL, it's a 45-yard penalty.
Yep.
But in college, the risk is kind of worth it.
Yeah, if you're throwing it way downfield, just take the 15. That's fine.
Yeah. So I think that's part of it. I also think that Nebraska's just become way more aggressive in the way that they're trying to play football. So I think there's a roughing in there, the questionable roughing penalty on Dylan Rhule in the Colorado game, and which I thought was a makeup call, although he kind of got hit right at the end. But most of it is like pass interference and holding and things that trigger automatic first down, but probably viewed as by the defense as worth the risk, so to speak. So it's a cool stat because it tells you that Nebraska is putting pressure on a defense, and that pressure is manifesting itself into penalties.
I brought up the comp. I mean, I was just making this point. When you go back to the Chiefs game yesterday and how they get that first down on the 4th down with an obvious, pass interference. And, you saw the look on Burrow's face after they get the penalty. And it's like, man, we just can't kill these guys. And that's a team that's had success in that stadium too. Some are calling it Burrowhead sometimes still. But
right.
There's the comp that I thought of right away. Like they're throwing it downfield and they get stuff like that to happen to them more times than not. People often say the Chiefs, they get all the breaks. Well, sometimes, good talent can kind of lead you to that point too.
For sure. One thing I'll say about that game and about Mahomes in general is the last thing you want that guy doing is running, because the Bengals lost one game to him, right? Remember when he's pushed right as he gets out of bounds, and it was a late hit. And then, of course, yesterday with the pass interference, I'd have brought 7. I would have said, look, if you want to make a throw one-on-one, then make a throw. But we are not going to let you run around. And that's the one thing that Mahomes does better than any quarterback I think any of us have ever seen. He makes, once he starts running is when he gets the most dangerous. And so my wife is now a Chiefs fan because she hates Tom Brady so much that she wants Patrick Mahomes to win more Super Bowls than Tom Brady.
What a great reason, by the way.
She's awesome. She's the best. My wife Molly is the best. She means it too. And so, I'm kind of done with the Chiefs personally. I like Mahomes. I don't like a lot else over there. I don't know. I'm just kind of done with them. I wouldn't mind seeing another team going and winning a title from the AFC. Bills. I don't really like the Ravens, but some other. And so I'm rooting for the Bengals yesterday, sort of unabashedly. And the level of excitement that she gets in that moment, it's just, I said, well, don't worry, they're going to get the 16 yards one way or another. They'll get it.
Yeah.
Don't worry.
True.
You know what's going to happen. They'll find a way to get to 16 yards. And then that pass interference penalty happens. As I told you, this is what happens with the Chiefs. This is who they are. And this is how they win games. They return a fumble for a touchdown. They got outplayed by the Bengals.
I know.
They still won the game. and that's why we watch. I mean, the NFL is the very best because of games like yesterday. And so, yeah, I don't know. I mean, they're kind of like the Patriots now. Only, I really didn't like the Patriots. I sort of like the Chiefs.
Yeah, you can't kill them. They have this they have this immortal quality to them that is just, and it comes out every single week, and it comes out especially in close games. Hey Sam, I thought Rhule took us through pretty well, like the three things, the three parts of ready, mentally, physically, emotionally. He admitted that Nebraska probably wasn't there emotionally, this past week, and then he made the point about how they're going to start getting teams, best shots now, and the program, with that little number by it and the AP ranking and whatever ranking you want to throw next to them. I guess, how much confidence do you have that they will, because people say they look at the Northern Iowa game and it's like, hey, that's not going to work against Illinois, and they're right, but you also can say, yeah, I don't think they're going to play that way against Illinois.
Yeah, I mean, it might work. I think Illinois is a team that's a little bit better than Northern Iowa. Obviously, they're probably about 14 points better. We'll see what happens on Saturday. I would not personally have Illinois ranked. I don't see it. I can also concede that I was wrong about them, and I thought they would be bad, and they're not bad. They're pretty good. And so, I mean, Nebraska has a whole thing of tape. Illinois' offense has not changed. It's roughly the same as it was last year. And I thought Nebraska did a pretty good job against Illinois last year. So I think they'll have a plan. One of the challenges that comes, with playing Illinois, you just have to deal with their defensive athleticism. They still have a few Lovie Smith recruits left. Once those guys all filter out, I don't know what kind of defense they're going to have. But they still have a few guys that got here back in 2019 or whenever it was, 2020, and those players are pretty good. So they're using those guys well, and this is going to be a real test for Dylan Raiola. And I'm not trying to knock at all what Colorado's trying to get done. I think Colorado's defense is actually pretty good.
Yeah.
And they hit pretty hard. But Colorado's just starting that process, and they're probably going to get progressively better. And obviously UTEP, whatever. And UNI is doing the best it can with the athletes it has. This will be a significant defensive test for Dylan Raiola. You're going to see multiple coverages. You're going to see, defensive ends that can get home and make life tough for an opposing quarterback. You're going to see some speed. You're going to see some athleticism in the secondary. It's not necessarily going to be easy for Dylan. And he's going to have to make some throws. He's going to have to, make some completions. So we'll see what happens. I think the defense will be plenty ready. I think at times they miss tackles because they're running 100 miles an hour.
I agree. I think Northern Iowa used Nebraska's aggression to their own advantage.
Yeah. And so one of the things you'll want to watch later this week with Altmaier is he's going to do some of the same things the UNI quarterback did, where he's going to let guys come at him, and then he's going to try to get out the middle. And he's not much of a runner. He'll run, but he's more of I'm going to get out the middle, and then I'm going to buy time and try to find receivers downfield. Nebraska's middle pass rush needs to be a little less porous. They need to bring a little bit more, whatever you want to call it. So that'll be something to watch as well.
Yeah. Sam McKewon from the Omaha World Herald is with us. Rhule also mentioned, we kind of have a mirror image, referring to Illinois. It's kind of a mirror image, and they do look the same, like statistically through 3 games, I guess. And they're generally trying to accomplish the same things, offensively, defensively. What is it like? I think Nebraska obviously has an advantage at the quarterback position when you compare those two. Is there a spot where you feel like Illinois has an edge on Nebraska more than some of the other ones?
Good question. I think their defensive line will give Nebraska some trouble. It's not as good as it was last year, and Nebraska used some run plays last year to get things going. But I do think that their defensive front will give Nebraska some problems. And yeah, I mean, I think Nebraska's got a stronger football team, but they've got 2 very nice receivers for sure, in Pat Bryant and I can't remember his first name, but Franklin. He's a UTSA transfer, Texas San Antonio. They got some players. They don't have as many as Nebraska at this point. I mean, I would like to see Nebraska utilize a running back a little bit more than they have, and I'm not exactly sure how they plan to do that, but I do think Nebraska's running backs, especially Dowdell and Emmett Johnson, are playing pretty well, and so we'll probably learn a few things this Friday. It's a tricky game. It's a short week. It's going to be. How is the crowd going to be? I don't know yet. It's hard for me to tell. It's going to be a night crowd. They're going to be into the game, but they're also going to be coming off of work, and so it's not going to be the whole day wind up thing that they normally have. The students will probably be fired up, but the crowd will probably be a little bit, oh, I wish we weren't here kind of vibe. And so, it'll be interesting. I think Nebraska's got a chance to win this thing by 21. I think they got a chance to lose. It really depends on how well they come out.
Yeah.
And how well they do against Illinois' defense, which thus far this year has played actually quite well.
All right, Sam, we'll get you out of here. Appreciate the time as always, and we'll see you on a quick turnaround Friday night.
All right, take care.
That's Sam McKewon from the Omaha World Herald. I agree with that last point for sure. I think there's definitely a path where Nebraska takes care of business pretty good here. There's definitely a path where they lose too.
Wide swath of options for second time this season.
I guess so, I don't know. I guess I felt like Nebraska would score more points against Colorado than they ended up scoring. Mm-hmm. I also thought Colorado would score a few more points as well. But I definitely as far as how it went. We were talking about the way it went all week, right? Hey, I think they're going to suffocate them.
Yeah.
And they did.
We got the vibe right. We didn't really get the score right.
Right. So I wonder, how that looks this week. How do you respond to the crowd thing that he said?
It's a good point. It's a good question Sam raises.
I disagree with him. I think it'll be pretty juiced.
400th sellout. It's a Friday night. It's kind of special. It's kind of unique. Typically, Nebraska fans embrace that, but I do understand what he's saying about Friday night. It can be that can make for a long day for a lot of people.
Yeah, just personally speaking from experience, Friday night, I get pretty as a 30-year-old man with a child, I get pretty beat up on Friday night for sure. Friday night, I don't really want to do anything anymore.
Pretty wiped.
But that's definitely not. It's definitely not how young people approach it.
That's right.
And I don't know if you've noticed, the young people are really showing up now. The young people enjoy Nebraska football now.
It's trendy. It's hip.
They showed up. I mean, they were there on Saturday night for UNI, man. The student section was full. Credit to them. It would not have been back in my day. It would not have been in my days in college when they were winning a bunch of games all the time. They were good, but we knew what the end of the result was going to be. It's they're going to win 9 games and they're going to lose to Ohio State and they're going to get blasted by Wisconsin and they'll probably lose a game they're not supposed to. I know how this goes.
We've seen that with perennial powers. We've heard Nick Saban talk about, okay, everyone needs to be in their seats for this game on Saturday against Eastern Kentucky or whoever Alabama's going to throttle,
Yeah. Credit to the Wisconsin student section, by the way. It looked like it was actually full for the first time ever, at the beginning of the game. Seriously, it's. I mean, people know this if you've been around for a while or if you've gone to a game up there. For the students, it takes forever to get in.
Yeah,
and they have a problem showing up on time, especially for those 11 o'clock games.
Well,
it doesn't happen.
The parking lot is more interesting to them than the football.
I think that's probably true as well. But yeah, they were loaded in there on Saturday night. So I think it'll be good. I disagree with Sam on that. I think it'll be it'll be a really it'll be pretty unique, because of what he said. But 4th consecutive sellout. It's a night game, and it's ranked unranked.
Ranked unranked, first conference game of the year.
And I do think people.
The team still has that buzz to them where it's I gotta see this team.
We're also in the process of building up Illinois to be God's gift to earth.
Sure.
We like to do that now. I think they're fine. That's a fine team. Nebraska should
It's-
win.
Yeah.